Hi guys, welcome to Rosenfield 10. I'm Joe. Normally I do Saints videos, sometimes entertainment videos, but today, without embarrassment, without shame, I am going to tell you my cat story and how I came to live with 12 cats. All these cats are my babies, and all of these cats are rescues. And one day I kind of looked around my house and said, my goodness, how did I end up with a zoo? And so I thought about it and talked to my wife about it, who knows the story way better than me. But I'm going to tell the story as best as I can recall. And if you're a cat lover, I hope you enjoy this. So, years ago, my wife and I lived in an apartment complex that did not allow animals. At the time we were living there, her and I did not have any pets. But my wife and I are animal lovers, and my wife particularly, who has never met a stray she didn't want to feed. So, best as I can recall, the first cat that was hanging around the apartment was Marshmallow. Now, Marshy's mom was there. I think Gail called her Mama or Mama Cat. And Mama Cat was pretty mean. But after a while, Mama Cat wasn't hanging around anymore. After Marshy was born, and I like to call Marshmallow Marshy. Marshmallow was born. Marshmallow kept coming back to the apartment. My wife would feed the strays outside. And look, if she meets one and she sees that it's hungry, she's going to feed it. So Marshy was getting fed outside. Mama Cat wasn't hanging around anymore, but Marshy was still hanging around. Marshy was a really sweet cat to my wife, but kind of standoffish with me at the beginning. Every time I'd walk out the apartment and Marshmallow was there, she would just kind of hide or every now and then hiss. But, I managed to get my hand on her head a couple of times to pet her. Okay, so there were a few males hanging around the apartment complex as well. I don't remember many of them, but one in particular that hung around forever and never left was Simon. Simon was a cute little orange and white tabby looking cat, and he was very sweet. Now he knew where his food was coming from. He knew who had the thumbs. And yeah, he would be really sweet to you as long as you were feeding him. So Simon was a boy that hung around a lot. And like I say, Marshmallow was pretty cold to me at first. Then one day, Marshmallow ended up pregnant. I'm not sure who the father was, but Marshmallow outside of the apartment complex had Ravina and Buttons. In this litter, she also had a cat that my wife named Shadow, but Shadow, after a while, Shadow just disappeared and wasn't around anymore. But Ravina and Buttons stayed around a lot. Ravina loved being an outside stray cat, and yeah, she stayed around our apartment a lot, around the outside in the area. She knew where her food was coming, and Buttons too. Buttons was a cute little boy, kind of slow, but both of them were like gung ho outside. Loved it, and would come around and eat, and then would enjoy their time outside. Simon loved being outside. He loved the nightlife. He would come around just to eat and then take off again. So now we've got Marshmallow, Simon, Ravina, and Buttons. They're hanging around outside, and Marshmallow ends up pregnant again. I think the culprit this time was Buttons. But Marshmallow ends up having Miko and Kiko. Now, the night Miko and Kiko were born was weird. Marshy was about to give birth, and it was a cold night, and she was outside right in front of our apartment door, and she was making noises, and we knew she was about to have them babies, and because it was so cold outside, we decided to bring her in the apartment. We thought we'd set her up in a box with some blankets and make it comfortable for her, but she got under the bed, and she had Miko and Kiko under the bed, and she nursed them under that bed for days. And eventually, they started to make their way out from under the bed. Little Miko and little Kiko, who never spent a day outside, didn't have to. They were going to be apartment dwellers. Now, this was an issue because we were not allowed animals at the apartment. So we decided that we would, at some point, bring the newborns and possibly the mom as well to South Carolina, where my wife's sister lives. She has a farm and she takes in animals and finds homes for some animals, and she's really good with animals, and she was willing to take these babies for us. But before we could ever arrange the trip to South Carolina, Marshmallow ended up pregnant again. Now, Marshy didn't want to go back outside after Miko and Kiko were born. She kind of started to enjoy the life indoors, and Simon would come inside, eat, and then go back outside. And Simon must have came in and ate and got some time with Marshy, because she ends up, from one litter to the next, Marshmallow ends up having Bellamy and Mia and Maddie. And Miko and Kiko are just barely born and running around like crazy kittens. And all of a sudden, we've got these three. So it was right around that time that we found the opportunity to go to South Carolina. So we brought Marshmallow and Miko and Kiko and Bellamy and Mia and Maddie. We brought all of them to South Carolina. Ravina and Buttons and Simon were going to stay outside apartment dwellers. They were going to remain strays. But we figured we'd better bring Marshy with her 5 newborns. So we bring them to South Carolina. We enjoyed that week, and we came home, and we're still going to feed Ravina and Buttons and Simon outside. Simon at this point was pretty loud. He would stand outside the apartment door and meow until we let him in to feed him. And if we didn't feed him, he would just keep meowing. So yeah, everybody in the complex at this point pretty much knew who was feeding the strays, and anybody living on that side of the complex knew that these cats were going in and out of our apartment. But nobody said anything, you know. After a while, management wanted me to get my wife to quit feeding the strays because there were so many outside, but I told her that there's no way I was going to do that. As far as I can tell, there's no law against feeding strays. So, okay, so Ravina ends up pregnant. And it's the same situation where she's having these babies, and then she brings the babies to the apartment to try to get the food. The babies end up finding out where the apartment is too. I mean, they're following their mama. Yeah, Ravina has Jack and Zora. Jack and Zora were going to be outside strays, just like Ravina and Buttons. But eventually, Jack and Zora made their way into the apartment and kind of liked it. Ravina was never the type to go in the apartment and hang out. Ravina liked to stay outside. Buttons would come inside every now and then, but he liked to be outside too. If Buttons ever came inside, he'd sleep under the bed, and then the next day he'd run back outside. Buttons I could barely touch. I mean, he wouldn't let me pet him at all. Ravina was the same way. She didn't like for me to pet her. Simon was different. Simon felt like he was our cat. We knew if we ever moved, we were taking Simon with us. And Gail, of course, was dead set on bringing Ravina and Buttons too. And then Jack and Zora ends up in the apartment most of the time. So now's the time when we finally get a house. And we're going to bring all these babies with us. All of these strays that, I can barely touch half of them. We're finally going to give them a roof over their head. So we get our home, and we round up everybody. Ravina, Buttons, Simon, Jack, and Zora. Now that we have the house, my wife's sister's like, well, you guys have the house, you can come get the cats now. So we were going to go back and get the 6 cats Steph had. Marshmallow, Miko, Kiko, Bellamy, Maddie, and Mia. And we've already got, and that's 6 of them, and we've already got Ravina, Buttons, Simon, Jack, and Zora. So we've already got 5. And Steph's wanting us to go get the other 6. That's going to make 11. Well, when Gail came back from that visit, she brought back Marshmallow. She brought back Miko, but not Kiko. Kiko was going to stay in South Carolina. Kiko had developed this urge to be outside. She got along with all the other animals there. Miko is a special boy. He likes to meow a lot at closed doors. And a lot of the times you open up the door and he makes it through and he just meows to come back from the other side. It's pretty annoying. But yeah, I kind of conquered that. I just let him have his run of the house. So yeah, Miko's pretty loud. And Steph also kept Madison. So she kept Maddie. And we ended up bringing home Bellamy and Mia. So now we have Marshmallow, Miko, Bellamy, and Mia. So we have those 4 coming home to the 6 we already have. So that makes 10, but Ravina was pregnant again. I believe Simon was the culprit. My cats are interested in something. Hold on one sec. Okay, yeah, the zoo never closes. So Ravina's pregnant. Simon's the culprit, and Ravina ends up having Tully and Snickers. Oh, these babies, so beautiful. But we decided, since we already had all these animals we weren't going to keep Snickers and Tully. We were going to try to find them homes as soon as they were big enough. And we actually did find a home for Tully and Snickers, and the family that decided to adopt them only kept them for about a week. They end up calling us and telling us that Tully and Snickers aren't cuddly enough, so they're going to go another route and get different cats. So Snickers and Tully come back home. And so at this point, we've got Marshmallow, Simon, Ravina, Buttons, Miko, Bellamy, Mia, Jack, Zora, Snickers, and Tully. So that's 11. And then sadly, little Zora got sick. It came pretty quick. She started to lose weight, and she was still getting around pretty good. But then in the span of a couple of days, she got where she was pretty lethargic, couldn't move, and then she passed away. So it was a very, very sad time. cats. The first one that we had that died, and Zora was a sweet little baby, and yeah, kind of broke my heart for a couple of days. I was crying myself to sleep. Okay, so at the same week that Zora was sick, and she eventually passed. My wife had a coworker who said that at his shed there were a couple of strays. He could tell they were kittens. There were lots of strays around that neighborhood, and I think someone across the street was feeding cats. And these kittens ended up in his shed, and he wasn't concerned about what happened to them apparently. So asked my wife if she was willing to come and get them. So my wife goes over there and brings home these two little babies, Sam and Riley. And when she told me she was going to do this, I wasn't a fan. I thought that having 11 cats was plenty. We were going to have 13 was kind of insane. And she was dead set on just keeping them until they were big enough to give away, and then we were going to give them away. What was hilarious is my son named these two kittens Sam and Riley, thinking both of them were boys. And both of them are thinking both of them were girls. And both of them ended up boys. So Sam and Riley fit either way. So Sam and Riley were only in the house about a week when Zora passed. And yeah, it was a tough time, but I truly believe these two kittens came into our lives as angels because they helped with the passing of Zora a lot for me. I was the one dead set on having Gail give Sam and Riley away, and as soon as Zora passed, I I couldn't be separated from Sam and Riley, these little babies. Yeah, I fell for them hard, and I ended up telling my wife she's not giving them away. We're keeping them. So at one point, yeah, for a couple of days, we had 13 cats, but yeah, now we have 12. And yeah, that's the story of how I ended up with 12 cats. Because if you feed a stray and they're having babies, then you end up feeding more strays. And yeah, sometimes I feel like my wife and I got this house just so we could keep the cats. But they are part of our family now. Uh, I'll tell you a little bit about all of them. Marshmallow, when she finally decided to stay in the apartment after having Miko and Kiko, she finally started to warm up to me. I think she saw how I was tending to her babies. And of course, I got the chance to be around her and pet her. And then Marshy ended up connecting with me pretty good. The time my wife brought Marshmallow and all those babies to South Carolina, I wanted her to bring Marshmallow back. I told her, you can leave the babies, but bring Marshy back. I'm going to miss her too much. And Marshy is my sweetheart to this day. I consider her the matriarch. She's the queen. And she's mama. She's grandmama. And nobody in the house can be mean to Marshy. There's a couple of them that are mean to her, and yeah, we keep them separated. Jack can be mean to Marshy sometimes, and Sam likes to play rough, and sometimes Marshmallow doesn't feel like playing. So yeah, there's a lot of room in the house, and everybody's kind of got their areas where they hang out, but they can all converge at mostly any time, and mingle. Marshy is the queen. Ravina is the princess, and her and we still don't have a good relationship. I mean, Ravina I think deep down she's a stray at heart. I pet her sometimes when I feed her, but Ravina and yeah, she's always been a little standoffish, and she's still to this day kind of weird about it. Even with Gail, she'll let Gail pet her, but then she's had enough. And so, Ravina's probably the she got a lot from Marshy's mom, I think. Marshy's mom was kind of a mean girl, and Ravina, although she's not mean, she's just not interested in a lot of affection. Button's boy was always, he seemed a little slow to me, but he was never friendly at all. Like, just, he wouldn't hiss or anything. He just didn't want to be messed with. Like, something start to happen, he would just go hide. And when we moved into this house, Button stayed in the garage for quite a while. He didn't even want to come into the house and mingle with all the other cats. He stayed in the garage for a good month or two. I would go in there and feed him, and he wouldn't even come eat out of the bowl until I left the garage. Every now and then he'd come out of the shed into the garage to eat while I was still there. But if I went to try to pet him, he'd move away. And then one day he wandered into the house. He saw where all the other cats were. He decided to hang out for a little while with Marshmallow, and then kind of made his way into the living room. And that's when Buttons and I decided it was bonding time. And now Buttons is like the sweetest boy in the world. I mean, he will let you hold him any way you want. He will let you kiss him. He loves affections. And yeah, that was a long time coming. Me and Buttons knew each other for years before we got this close. My sweet little boy, I'm looking at him right now. Sweet little angel. I thought about taking my phone around and trying to film everybody, but if you're subscribed to this channel, as I'm speaking about the Saints, everyone makes appearances every now and then, so figured I'd let y'all know a little bit about all of them. Simon's the king. That little boy, I swear, he and Marshmallow are the king and queen, and Simon's going to be part of this family until he moves on from this mortal coil. He's such a sweetheart. He's such a jerk. He's big. He's spoiled. He's really good. When the new kittens would come along, Simon would be really good to them. Would tend to them like he was their daddy until they got big enough, and then after that, they were competition for him. So yeah, Simon's a little weird about eating with everyone else. He wants to eat all the food, and it's funny when I call them to eat. Every time I call another cat, Simon meows angrily at me like he's telling me, "Don't call them. I want all of it for myself." But Simon's he's a family member. I'll put it that way. I love Simon. Nobody's as loving as Simon. He's a sweetheart. He just can be a jerk sometimes. But I love Simon, and I wouldn't be without him. Miko is a sweetheart. He meows at closed doors all the time, and it's annoying. So there was a time when we would try to let him sleep in the bedroom, but no, he would meow at the door to get out. As long as he's got his run around the living room and the hallway and the dining room and the kitchen, he's pretty good. But he'll still go down the hall and meow at closed doors. If you open up a closet door, he's running in there. If you open up the pantry and the kitchen, he's running in there. If you open up the door to go outside, he's running outside. Miko is the only one that goes outside and comes back in. He's the only one we trust to go outside. We have a fenced-in patio. He goes out there. He hangs out for a little while. Sometimes he'll go in the back of the house, but then he'll come right back. And I don't trust any of the other ones to do this. It's weird. Kiko in South Carolina, Miko's sister, she's an outside cat. She loves being outside, and she rarely goes inside now. And I kind of figured Miko probably has a little of the tendency to want to do that too. But Miko's the only one that goes outside. Bellamy I consider him the prince. Even though he doesn't have the same color as Simon, I feel like they look a lot alike. They move a lot alike. They have the same body type. Bellamy's Pretty regal looking cat, though. He is a sweetheart. And Bellamy is Mama's boy. Him and Marshmallow were pretty inseparable. And for a long time, he would nurse on Marshmallow. And I mean, way past the point where he was getting anything out of it. But she didn't seem to mind. And he was a mama's boy. So they stayed inseparable pretty much their whole lives. It's just been in the last month that Bellamy has wandered away from Marshy into the living room and kitchen and dining room. Bellamy's been wanting to spend a lot of time out here. It used to be he had to sleep next to his mama, and she's in the bedroom, and that's where she stays. And but no, he's Bellamy's Bellamy's all over the place now. It's like he finally grew out of his being with his mama. And I worry about Marshy. She's in the bedroom now, and just Mia is the only one that stays with her constantly. Um, Mia's sister Maddie is still in South Carolina, but me and Bellamy are here. So Mia and Marshmallow stay in the bedroom most of the time. Mia will come out a lot. Marcia used to come out quite a bit too, but she's pretty comfortable back there. A big closet, big bathroom, big bedroom. Marcia's a queen. She's got her own suite, she's fine. Mia would rather be in there with her mama right now, and I'm pretty sure at some point Bellamy's going to find his way back in there to be with his mama. Uh, Jack, now that Zora's passed, Jack is the only one from that litter left, and Jack is just like Ravina. She doesn't like to be pet. She don't want to be hanging around with everybody all the time. She wants to find her spot, be comfortable, and so yeah, Jack and Ravina are the two out of the bunch that are kind of like, yeah, you can pet me when you feed me, but other than that, whatever. So yeah, Jack. Now sometimes I call her Jackie. Sometimes I call her Jacqueline. Sometimes I call her Jackie O, or Jack in Black. But Jack is a girl, and yeah, my wife likes Jack, straight Jack, not Jackie, not Jacqueline, just Jack. But I call her everything. And then you've got Snickers and Tully. Tully's a sweet boy. Snickers and Tully, both of them aren't cuddly. That's true. They're not cuddly. But after a while, sometimes these cats grow on you and you grow on them. And so now Tully, who once didn't even like to be pet, is now, he loves pets. He's a little sickly. He's skinny all the time. I think he might be anemic in the fleas and stuff. So we get him the good treatment. And he's grown quite a bit. He's a sweet boy now. You can pet him, love on him. He even laid on my wife for a little while a couple of weeks ago, which was a big move. And then there's beautiful Snickers. I've never seen a cat with such beautiful coloring before. She is hot and cold when it comes to pets. When she's in the mood, she will jump next to you and meow in your ear and reach for you. And yeah, when she wants to be pet, she will beg for it. But then if she's not in the mood and you try to pet her, she just moves on. So she's a little bit like a mama that way. But overall, she ended up pretty cuddly, I think. And then finally, Riley and Sam, beautiful babies. We thought they were both girls. They end up both stinking boys. Riley is my angel, I think. I'm pretty sure he's got the soul of a past relative inside of him, and he's here to make sure that I'm going to be okay. And he loves my son Ethan too. Riley is a beautiful, beautiful baby. Probably my favorite cat that I've ever owned. And his brother Sam. Now, Sam's a biter, was always a biter and a scratcher. And he was obviously doing it for fun and for love, out of love. Sam has gotten so big. It was hard to take a picture of Sam when he was a baby. He wasn't about it. But now Sam is a big cat, pretty big, a sweetheart. And yeah, every now and then he'll still bite at you, nip at you, scratch at you if you pet him by his face. But he does it out of love. Riley, come here, Ry. Ry bit. Now, I used to call, come here, baby. This is my Ry bit. This guy right here. I used to call him Riley, and then I called him my little bit, and then it ended up being Ry bit, and that's kind of his name now. And you see, he loves him cat very much. I hold him like a baby and give him special lovings all the time. He's a beautiful, beautiful boy, and he's spoiled rotten. This little guy right here is my angel. My angel. This guy right here. My angel. My beautiful baby. He's very spoiled. He don't want nobody else to have me but him. He jumps on me, and then if somebody else comes, he gets jealous and moves away. Look at this beautiful face. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so that's it. That is the story of how I came to live with 12 cats. All of them rescues, all of them beautiful babies. And I'm going to mention one other animal before I go here. That's not a cat. It's our stinking dog, Tootsie Roll. Now, Tootsie Roll was part of a litter in South Carolina. My son and wife went there, and Ethan picked one of the litter and said, I like this one. This one's cute. He looked different than the rest of them. When he was a puppy, he looked like a Tootsie Roll. So Ethan named him Tootsie Roll. And then on a subsequent visit to South Carolina, Ethan and Gail brought home Tootsie Roll. And this dog ends up a family member with all of these 12 cats. And he managed to have his own little relationship with all of them. Now, some of them don't want him around. Some of them ignore him. And some of them just love him to death. And you can find from time to time Tootsie Roll and Buttons loving on each other. Marshmallow and Tootsie Roll, I think Marshy got him good on the nose once, and now Tootsie respects Marshy. But they're to the point now where they'll even lay next to each other. Simon doesn't care for Toots that much at all. Miko loves Toots. They are so cute together. It's a beautiful thing. Bellamy, he don't care much for Toots. He just avoids Toots, I think. There's no hate there. Mia will hiss at Toots every time, but she'll still sleep on the same bed with him. And yeah, Jack ain't having nothing to do with Toots at all. And Tully, he don't care one way or the other. Tully's a little nervous sometimes, but Tully just kind of avoids Toots. Snickers, on the other hand, loves Toots. For a while, I thought Snickers chose Toots as her boyfriend because she loves him so much. And then Sam and Riley, when they came into the house as babies, Tootsie Roll was very, very good to them. And Tootsie and Riley always had a nice relationship ever since Riley was a little kitten. Toots would be good to him, and they still play together to this day. So Tootsie Roll is a great dog to have in a house with 12 cats. So there you go. There is the dysfunctional family, the Guidry family of cats and one dog. How I managed to get 12 cats in my life, and how I managed to fall in love with all of them, especially Riley. Don't tell the rest of them. All right, I'm Joe. I hope you enjoyed my cat video. Subscribe to Rosenville 10 if you're a Saints fan, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.